Have you ever caught yourself living a life that seems strangely scripted? You get up, you do what's expected, you go through the motions, you play the part. But somewhere, quietly, almost imperceptibly, a feeling begins to creep in. A question. Subtle at first, then louder over time. Is this really me? It doesn't feel like a breakdown. You're functioning, you're working, you're showing up in the world. But deep inside, something is off. Something feels like it doesn't belong to you, and that's because it might not. What if the person you've become, the personality you show the world, the thoughts you believe, the desires you chase, aren't really yours at all? What if they're borrowed? Assembled from fragments of what other people wanted you to be. Your parents shaped one piece, teachers added another. Friends, culture, religion, algorithms, comments, praise, rejection, all of it layered over the raw material of who you are. Until eventually, you lost track of what parts were yours. Most people never stop to ask that question. They're too busy keeping up, too caught in the current to step out and examine who's actually swimming. But if you're here, listening, maybe you've reached a point where you've started to wonder. And that curiosity is no small thing. It's the beginning of something rare, something powerful. It's the beginning of self-reclamation. Psychologist Carl Jung believed that this sense of disconnection isn't accidental. It's not just modern stress. It's a symptom, a signal that you're living too far from your own center, that your life, however polished, however praised, has been built on a foundation of adaptation. You became who you needed to be to survive, but you might not have become who you truly are. And that difference, it's what haunts us. Jung called the version of ourselves we present to the world the persona. It's the mask we wear to function in society. And it's not inherently bad. We all need it. Without it, we'd struggle to relate, to work, to belong. But here's the danger. If you wear the mask long enough, you start to believe it's your face. You forget that it was ever something you chose. You forget that there's a real self beneath it. The persona is subtle. It's the smile when you want to cry. It's the agreeable yes when you meant no. It's the silence when you had something to say. It's the ambition that's more about your father's dreams than your own. And it's rewarded. Society loves the persona. It loves people who play their roles well. But behind closed doors, behind the meetings, the followers, the small talk, the routines, you start to feel it. Hollowness, fatigue, a sense of disconnection that no achievement can fix, because the persona can gain you approval, but it will never bring you peace. Peace only comes when you live from a place of authenticity, not perfection, authenticity. And that means meeting all the parts of yourself you've pushed away. This is where we meet the shadow. The shadow isn't evil. It's not some dark, monstrous thing lurking in the corner. It's simply the part of you that you've disowned. The emotions you weren't allowed to feel, the truths you weren't allowed to speak, the desires you were shamed for, the talents you were told to hide. Anger, hide it. Sensitivity, too weak. Ambition, too arrogant. Need, too clingy. Fear, too dramatic. And so these parts go underground. But they don't go away. The shadow lives in your reactions, your overreactions, your insecurities, your guilt, your unexplained sadness, your dreams, your compulsions. It shows up in relationships that repeat the same painful patterns. It shows up when you sabotage your own progress. It shows up when you feel stuck, even though you've done everything right. Because the truth is, what you repress gains power, not to destroy you, but to demand your attention. Jung wrote that until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. And so many of us are doing exactly that, calling it fate, calling it bad luck, calling it burnout. When really, it's the pain of living a life divorced from your wholeness. You weren't meant to be fragmented. You weren't meant to live only from the parts of you that others find palatable. And the journey back, the journey to reclaim the full self, requires you to do something most people never do: turn inward. It's easy to stay busy, to optimize, to produce, to scroll, to numb. But turning inward? That's a confrontation. It means looking at everything you've pushed away: the grief, the rage, the longing, the vulnerability, the parts of you that never got to speak. But it also means finding everything you've been looking for outside: your clarity, your voice, your power. This is the process Jung called individuation, the path of becoming whole. Individuation doesn't mean isolation. It doesn't mean rejecting society. It means integration. It means reclaiming every part of yourself you've abandoned to survive. And not just intellectually, but emotionally, energetically. It's saying, "This is who I am, and I no longer need to hide." And it's not a one-time event. It's a lifelong practice, a gradual, often uncomfortable peeling back of layers. The more honest you become, the more masks fall away. And the more masks fall away, the lighter you feel. You begin to see that so much of what you thought was you was a strategy. Your overachievement, a strategy for love. Your humor, a shield from pain. Your silence, a response to past rejection. Your intensity, a reaction to not being heard. And beneath all of it, a self that's been waiting, patiently, quietly, for you to come home. The work isn't glamorous. It doesn't come with applause, but it comes with something far more powerful: peace. You start to breathe differently, decide differently, love differently. Not because you learned some technique, but because you stopped abandoning yourself. You stop asking, "What will they think?" and start asking, "What feels true?" And as that alignment deepens, something else begins to shift. The way you relate to others. Because the parts of yourself you haven't accepted, you will judge them in others. Your unprocessed anger, you'll resent people who express theirs freely. Your buried sadness, you'll struggle to hold others' vulnerability. Your denied needs, you'll call others too much when they voice theirs. But when you own your shadow, when you embrace your full humanity, you stop projecting it onto others. You begin to love from a place of clarity instead of need. You begin to speak from truth instead of performance. And that kind of presence, it changes everything. This is why individuation is not just personal, it's relational. The more whole you become, the more whole your relationships become. No more masks dancing with masks, just two humans, present, real, honest. So let me ask you again, are you living from the persona or from the self? Are you curating your life to be accepted, or building a life rooted in truth? Are you editing yourself to fit in, or expanding into the fullness of who you are? Because there is no finish line, no final version, no perfect you. There's only the path, the daily commitment to meet yourself, to listen deeply, to choose truth over comfort, again and again. And if you stay on that path, if you keep walking through the resistance, the fear, the discomfort, you will find something more real than any external validation. You will find yourself, not the self they told you to be, the self you were before the world got in the way.